Welcome back to another episode of the Fierce and Femme podcast. We are your hosts, Rami
and Alicia, and today's episode is going to be all about grief, our experiences, and how to deal with it.
So today is actually a very special day. It is my dad's 6-year death anniversary, which is so crazy and a big reason as to why we're doing this episode about grief. For me, I'll just touch on quickly how I even lost Dad. It's not a story that I really share too much on socials, but he literally just went to sleep and did not wake up 6 years ago, which is so surreal. We didn't know that he was sick. We didn't know anything. It wasn't until they did, I think it's called an autopsy. I just lost the fucking word. But anyway, the coroners did a test and all that sort of stuff and then realized he had some form of heart disease. But my dad was just such a typical old school male, never went to the doctors, never got himself checked and da-da-da. So it literally was just a big shock to us, our family, shock to the system. And that is why grief truly is such a big part of my world today. And I think it's not talked about enough. I think it's not shared about enough. And we might touch on grief in different ways throughout this episode, not just through the loss, like the genuine loss of people, but also like friendship loss, breakups, because grief really does come in different forms. Same with like identity shifts and all that sort of stuff. So this is not just for the people who have lost someone. Take this form of grief in a way that it applies to you and your loss specifically.
Yeah. Because I think even like, again, we are so different, but I feel very lucky in the sense that I haven't experienced as much loss. Equally though, I do find, and there's probably other people that relate with it, is that I'll downplay it because other people have experienced more loss, or even then, like in our language is so different. But I've lost 2 grandparents, however they lived overseas. I've seen them a couple of times in my lifetime, but yeah, I think it'll just be really interesting to have 2 very different perspectives. And I'm going to kick it off with, in that, I feel like I've always felt that I don't know how to support people within grief because I haven't experienced as much of it. And even with my grandparents, that hit me hard. However, I wasn't with them 24/7. I didn't know them as much as I wish that I could have. And something that I sort of want to ask to Rami is, firstly, how best could you have been supported in that time? And if you were to cast your mind back to when it happened, what did you need the most?
I just needed the most. I needed like everyone to just sort of do everything for me. And because on the day that it happened, I literally just turned into like soldier mode. I was like, all right, I need to deal with this and I need to make sure that everyone else is okay and all this sort of stuff. And I didn't really have time to take care of me on that day specifically. And looking back, when someone goes through such a big loss, you truly remember the people who were there for you and also the people who were not. Yeah. And it is a little bit of a catch-22 because I didn't know what I really needed because I guess it's the first time you ever go through something like that. So your whole world literally just fucking shatters in a second and it's like, I don't know what I need. But speaking from hindsight, it was like there were people that I would message and be like, okay, anyone got vases because everyone's giving me so many flowers. And I still remember one of the girls being like, I'll go to Kmart and I'll buy you some. Or like people would come over and they'd cooked food. Or I still remember after the funeral, like an old friend that I knew from high school who I rarely see, she came over, ordered like 15 pizzas. Like there were people that just really went above and beyond that I didn't even need to ask. And it was so beautiful. So I think if you are someone that's experiencing it, it's okay if you don't know what you need, but also it's still really important to let people know that. And we will sort of touch on the communication bit later. But I think it was like that extra bit of support, even if it was people bringing flowers, even if it was people sending messages, how are you? And people bringing food as well, because I think when you're in that period, especially like you're not really thinking about eating. Like even though people would bring food, like we literally looked at the food and I was like, I can't even eat this. But it was the fact that like, well, I am going to get hungry. I am going to need to eat at some stage. Like, I think it was so later the next day, we had not eaten and mum was like, what if we just go get some Maccas? And we were like, yeah, like literally just got like a cheeseburger. But it was just the thought that counts from people who brought us food, flowers, the vases, just the genuine support. So I think that like, if you do know someone who is grieving, you can ask them what they need, but also just like, going that little bit above and beyond that you would normally do for a friendship goes a long fucking way.
Yeah. Perfect.
Yeah.
Do you want to go straight on to the next one?
Yes, I do.
Anger.
Great. Thank you for reminding me. With the stages of grief, there unfortunately is no rule book, and that's something that I learned too. There's no right or wrong way. There's no, oh, you're going to grieve like this today and then you're going to grieve like that tomorrow. It's truly just riding the wave and just being okay with the emotions that come up. For me, anger was a fucking huge one. Like, that just fueled me in so many negative ways. Like, I would literally just be angry at everyone who still had a dad, or I'd be angry at people that had a dad but had really shitty relationships with them, or talked really badly about their dad, because my reality was like, are you guys fucking serious? Because mine just died. But it was like, I just forgot the perspective of, okay, well, everyone just has different relationships. Again, something else we'll talk about later. So I was really fueled by that anger. And I still remember looking back, like, there were a couple of girlfriends who, like, going back on how to support people, there were a couple close girlfriends of mine who hadn't even come to my house and had been like 2 weeks later. For me, it became common sense to come to my house because so many other people were coming over, like so many close friends and family and people who I hadn't even seen in years. Like, my ex-boyfriend came over. Like, it was to that extent. He even brought some friends over and I was like, whoa, like, this is... what I'm going through is a big fucking deal, and some people are really seeing that. And I remember having a conversation with those two girls being like, where the fuck are you? Like, it was pretty anger driven.
Yeah.
It was very much like, we need to catch up and talk. Because once all this sort of dust had settled on, I was like, hold on. Like, if these people are doing the most here, but you guys aren't, and you're supposed to be two of my fucking close friends, what the fuck is going on? And I remember telling them and being like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, my dad died, not a fucking pet, not a random, like, my literal dad died. And I still remember them to this day saying, we don't know what to do and we don't know how to support you. And looking back, I'm like, fuck, that's valid, because I was the first one in our social group to lose a parent. So I don't blame them. And I had to do a lot of like rethinking and healing and growing and learning to realize it was also their first time too. And that's okay. So just allowing yourself to feel the feels. I kind of went on a little bit of a tangent there, but you will see past the anger. The anger will go. It'll kind of then turn up in different ways. I think what I worked through a lot with my coach this year was that I wasn't angry at anyone else anymore. I was actually angry at dad, and like subconsciously did not realize how much anger I had for him dying. Like, it was as simple as that. It was just a big fuck you for leaving me. And again, that's 6 years later, but you still, and this is what I mean by like, there's no rule book with grief. It's just riding the wave, seeing what comes up for you and just allowing it and allowing yourself to heal and grow and learn and just being extra kind to yourself. Like, and I think another thing is with the friends supporting, it's not justifying that person who's grieving, like their actions, but also knowing they have no fucking idea how to deal with this.
Yeah.
And they might just need that extra kindness too. Like, now is not the time to attack your friendship because your friend is going through some fucking serious anxiety or anger or whatever. Like, let them, like, allow them to ride their fucking wave. And if you're a true mate, like, you'll just know it'll pass and everything will be okay eventually. Because I look back and think, like, those two friends now, like, one of them without a fucking doubt never forgets my dad's anniversary. And if I'm not home, there'll always be flowers at my door. You know, like, it's just like, thank God she did not take that so personally, because she means the fucking world to me now. And it's not like we ever talk about it, but I always remind her of how grateful I am that she never fucking forgets. Like, even with the retreat, like, we've got Didge's retreat. She's like, and I hadn't told her the dates, but she's like, oh my God, like, are you going to be away for your dad's anniversary? And I was like, even when she said that, I was like, thank you for remembering. I'll literally be back the day before. And just little things like that. Yeah. So yeah, the anger will pass. Sorry, that was such a tangent. So much to talk about. But just feel the feels and it'll pass. It's okay.
I think something I've experienced a lot of is guilt, and in a few different forms of, firstly, guilt in comparing my loss to others, of like, oh, I can't feel sad about this because someone like Rami has experienced such a great loss. But equally, like, those people were still really important to me. And I think then there's also a sense of guilt of like how I was when I was with them, of I'm guilty if you treated them badly. Or I know there's so many people out there, and I have friends, family, like, if your last conversation with that person was a fight, or if your last conversation was something really negative, there can actually be a lot of guilt when you lose someone. And the hardest part is like when they're gone, and we can't go backwards, and we can't replay anything, and it just is what it is, and it's really shit. And I think that's just something to acknowledge, as well as like a lot of the things with these conversations is, yeah, it is just really shit, and just sort of accepting that and being like, it's okay to feel that way. It's okay to feel guilty. It's okay, like, even hear how like I'm downplaying all these things. Like, it's okay for me to feel that way, because equally I didn't get those experiences with those people. And I think for me it was a difficult thing of, I do have half of my family's overseas. So there's even a lot of guilt just on the daily of like, well, I don't get to see those people and be a part of their lives as much as I would like to. But yeah, I think in terms of like guilt, it is one of those things where you just sort of have to be like, there's not much you can do about it when we move forwards, because we can't go backwards. Do you have something to say?
You're just so spot on with the acceptance. I feel like that's so key. And this can really apply to anything. The sooner that you can accept that it's happened, the sooner the healing journey can start. Like, it is obviously so hard, and especially if you had a really good relationship. Like, I had such a good relationship with Dad. That's why I felt all of these feelings quite heavily. And you don't want to accept it. But the longer that you take to do that, the harder it's going to feel. So same thing like you said with the guilt. It's like, yeah, the guilt might be there, but there really is nothing else that you can do. And it's like, accept that it's happened. And if you need to heal that guilt or whatever way or form that looks like to you, then go do that. But there is no bringing that person back. There is no changing the memories. It's like, acceptance is key. So I love that you mentioned that. I want to touch on like connecting with the person that's gone specifically. And that can look like, lost my English for a second. That can look so different to so many different types of people. Like, it might look like looking at photos, looking at videos, depending if you're spiritual or not. Like, when you meditate or do breath work, like, I wouldn't say I'm very spiritual, but when I'm definitely having really low moments, like, I'll just be like, hey, Dad, like, can you help me with this? Or can you give me a sign? Or some people might pray to the universe or pray to God. Like, for me, it's a lot to do with him. Like, I trust that he's helping me, guide me through my journey. So there's definitely that. There's so many different ways that you can still connect with them, even though they're not physically here. And I think for me, that's where my sort of spiritual doors did open, because it was like, well, I want to trust that he is somewhere. And it just started getting my mind thinking of, where the fuck is that somewhere? And it can seem really scary at the start as well, because I still remember like, when you start to like think that you see signs or you feel them and all that sort of stuff, like now I love it so much. But at the start, I remember feeling really scared, because I was like, what the fuck is this? Like, I'm not spiritual. I don't know what I believe in. And it kind of like forces you to sort of think outside of the box, which can be quite beautiful. Like, I think as well in dreams, like I still remember the day that he had died. Like I said, I didn't have time to really process what had happened, but he appeared in my dream. Wow. I know. It was like, I'll quickly share the dream actually, because it always gives me shivers. Please. Like, I went to, I don't know where the fuck I was, but I was walking down this like path, and there was Dad, and it was so random. There was like this guy, some sort of priest or something, which we're not even Catholic or Christian. So it was someone completely different, and they were just walking ahead of me. And I still remember Dad, like, he was like looking at this priest, and he was like, I know Rami's going to be fine. Like, she's strong. And then I remember waking up, and I literally just screamed and cried so much in bed. And that's when this is sort of acceptance bit happened, where I was like, oh my God, the only time I'm going to see him is in my dreams. So I would like really struggle to sleep, because I would like, I don't want to believe this. Now I'm like, bro, can you come around? Like, can you pop on over, please? So again, that's just another way that I feel really connected to him, is like when he is in my dreams, it can be really special and wholesome. So just allow yourself to try new things and just see what works for you, I think is really special and important, because different things work for different people. I know, like, for a fact, my older sister loves going to the cemetery. Like, I never go, because like I said, I can just call out to Dad wherever I am. But for her, like, that's really special to her, and she goes quite frequently, and I absolutely love that for her. And that just really showed me as well, like, oh, different things really do work for different people.
Which is pretty much our next point of, everyone has their own experience. And I think especially with grief, just allowing that to be okay and accepting that again and understanding that. And I think this really opened my eyes to it. I'm such a feeler. I'm a big crier. Like, that is just who I am. I always have been a big, big, big feeler. And I wasn't able to go to my Nana's funeral in America, But we did fly over for my papa. That's what we called him in America.
Cute.
And I was bawling at the funeral. Like, also, I'm pretty sure that was the first funeral I'd ever been to. And I was like 16. So I just had not experienced it. It was really new. And I think I was also just learning to navigate all the feelings. And then I just felt a lot like, oh my God, am I like crying too much? And then I started to overthink my experiences because there were people who were closer to him, like I'm going to say closer in quotations of my interpretation, who maybe weren't crying. And then I was going, oh, well, how? And that's where the guilt came in again of, oh, am I allowed to cry this much when I maybe didn't know him as well as all these other people? And just accepting that everyone has their own process of it. Like, and I think especially on days like funerals, so many different emotions can come up. Like, there could be people who are really fucking angry at different people at the funeral. There could be people who are like me, the one who's just absolutely can't stop crying in the corner. People who are just like nothing to them and are just holding themselves together to be there. So I think just being really understanding with everyone that their experience is their experience, and maybe they will cry in their own time. Maybe they won't ever cry about it. And maybe there's someone who just needs a big fucking hug and to know that it's all going to be okay and know that you're there to support them. But again, just making it okay that there is no right or wrong, especially when it comes to grief. Like, there's no right way to do it. And like, people could look at someone crying and be like, oh my God, like they're the one who's doing it the right way and the person who's not isn't. But it just really isn't, because everyone has their own stories. Everyone has their own relationships with that person, their own experiences, projections. Like, there's so many layers to it that develops that person's experience. And again, sort of like how Rami was saying before, of like, you don't experience it until you do, so you don't actually know how you're going to react.
Yeah, and everyone really does react differently, because like on the back end of that, it is so important to remember that people do deal with it differently. Because I remember it was like a month or so later, like life goes on after someone dies, right? And I think if you just expect people to be fucking depressed 24/7, it's silly. Like, I remember, like, I reckon it was a month or so later, I had my best friend's baby shower, and I was like, well, I'm going to go and I'm going to have fun because I'm still alive and I deserve to. I had a good, like, loved a good bev off you. And it's like, we would have comments from families being like, oh my God, like, how are they out drinking and how are they out partying and how are they out celebrating? It's like, bro, I'm not happy that my dad's dead, but also life goes on. You have to move on. And I think that's that thing of, again, grief. It doesn't just disappear, because there's still moments now where I'll cry or I'll break down or whatever, but I'm still living a very like happy and content life, and you're allowed to. So I think that with the back end of people deal with things differently, people are going to judge no matter if you're fucking happy, if you're sad or whatever it is. And you just have to delete that background noise and just keep living your life, because life goes on. And that's really important to remember.
Yeah.
The next thing is regret, and it's a little bit like the guilt thing too. There's a lot of people that feel regret when someone does pass away, but it's like there were so many moments when I was like, fuck, I wish I called him more and I wish I saw him more and all these things. And I have to really remind myself and anchor into the fact that version of me, that's what she wanted to do. And you just have to be okay with that, even if you were fighting or arguing or you didn't talk or whatever it is. Yeah, of course, it's all hindsight now. Of course, it's easy to say, oh, I wish we were friends, or I wish we were in love, or whatever it is. I wish I said this and I wish I said that. And it's like, you can't. You cannot change it. You can maybe try and do it now. Like I said, if you're spiritual, if you feel like reaching out to them, or even like writing a little letter, like whatever works for you. But you can't change the past. And I feel like everything really ties into acceptance. The sooner you can accept it, the sooner the regret's going to go, because regret is a fucking bitch if you let it eat you up. Like, I just, honestly, there's nothing worse than regretting things, and there's nothing you can do. So just accept that it's happened, and just remember that that's what you wanted to do at the time, and that's okay. And yeah, you might do things differently now, but you wouldn't have this thought process if they were alive. And that's the things that I tell myself too. I'm like, maybe I'd still be that girl that doesn't call him as much or see him as much, because I learnt it since he died, you know? And that I think is just really important, is that yes, regret might be there. Yes, guilt might be there, but there's nothing you can really do about it. Accept it and move on and just learn from it then. If you feel like that relationship could have been better, go do better in your other relationships. Go tell more people that you love them. Go talk to more people, see more people, so that, God forbid, when that person goes, you can be like, nah, I fucking learned, and I made sure that I wouldn't let that happen again because the regret made me feel X, Y, and Z, you know?
Yeah. On a more happier note, we wanted to touch on, like, remember the good times. And for me, again, in the sense of, yes, I didn't get to know my grandparents as much. Something that I always reflect back on is when we did go to America, we would stay there for really long periods of time. So 3 weeks, a month or so, because it is such a big trip to go over there. It takes us about 36 hours just to get to
We're
Kentucky.
so far.
Is where
Australia,
I know.
so far.
I need to go visit again. I haven't been in ages. But what I did remember is, so on our trip, most recent trip, we'd actually visited a year before my papa passed away. And when we visit, we would always stay at his house, which I think is also why it hit me so hard, because his place was just like, all my memories from America are at his house, and that's no longer like his home. I'm pretty sure my auntie lives there now. So it's a whole different vibe, all these different memories and everything. But what I do like to think of is I'm an early riser always, and my sister and my dad would have such bad jet lag, they'd sleep till like 10, but I'd be up at like 7 or 6 sometimes, and he would always be up, and in the morning I would always sit there and I would just talk to him, and we would just have like I'm getting teary now, like we would just have like random conversations, but I would just listen to whatever he had to say and just give him the time of day, because I think, especially being teenagers, like, yes, there would be some times in the morning where I'd be like, oh, I don't really want to talk to him, or like all that. But then I would actually just be really grateful that I had that one-on-one time with him, because if I wasn't waking up early in the morning, I didn't really see him. And then the rest of the day we weren't really hanging out. So I think just reflecting back to like, why is this loss feeling so hard? Probably because you did have so many beautiful memories with them. And remember that as well, because I think obviously there is so much negativity around losing someone, but I think this also comes back to the connection of like, connect back to those moments where like you had the absolute best time with them, and like get to be really happy that you got to have that as well, because sometimes we don't. So I think it's really special that you got to have that too.
Yeah. And final one, unless we come up with some more. Communication is key, especially if you are the person that's experiencing it. Like, I think, like Alicia said, there's people out there who might not know how to support them, and it's up to you to tell that person what you need, whether it is you need more support, whether it is you actually just need some space, whether you need someone to message you every day for 2 weeks, like whatever it is, just tell people, because they might not know what to do, and that's okay. That's not their fault. And same thing with you. It's like, if you're not sure what you need, tell them. If someone asks, hey, how can I help you? And you actually have no fucking idea, just say, hey, I do not know. And then you can just both sit there confused together and figure out a plan together maybe. Like, like communication truly is key. And I think that asking for help as well as part of that communication. Like, I had, like, my work at the time was really great. They literally were like, you do not need to come back to work until you're ready, which was amazing. So I took like 2 weeks off work. And then even when I got back to work, they were really great. And they were like, what do you need? Da, da, da. And I was like, maybe I'll just try some counseling, because I don't really know who to talk to about this. And I remember I tried it and I fucking hated it. But at that time,
you tried at least.
I tried, because I was like, well, again, I'm just always that person that's like, well, I better give something a shot, because I don't know. And they'd given me this counselor, and bless her, she was great. But there was a big part of me that was like, I can't be fucked talking to someone who didn't know my dad. So then it made me realize, okay, I just need people around who knew him, you know? So sometimes you might go do something and it might not feel like it's working, but it'll just lead you towards what you do need, you know? So I think that's also really important. And then even in 2023, when I hired my mindset coach, there was so much about grief that we had touched on, because I was like, well, I know there's a lot of things going on in my life that are probably stemmed from the fact that I've lost my dad a few years ago. I probably need help there. And I feel like I had such a different mindset at that time, because I was more open to it. And I was like, okay, I'm happy to go deeper, which means it needs to be someone that didn't know him, someone who doesn't give me a biased opinion and isn't going to give me all the fluffy cookie cutter shit, who's actually going to tell me what I need to hear. But that came 2 to 3 years later, and that's okay. So with that communication piece, go and ask for help, whether it's from work, friends, family, a counselor, a psych, a mindset coach, whatever it is, and just be okay with that. I think another thing of communication is like a lot of people who grieve have real dark humor. And if you're on the other end of that, it's okay to laugh.
I've learnt to be okay with
like literally the other night I was out for dinner with the girls and we were talking about how old our parents are. And my friend was like, oh, my dad's whatever age, like 50 something. I was like, oh, nice. My dad's dead. And like you just like they always have shocked responses. They'll be like, Ramia. And I'll be like, we can laugh, guys, because like sometimes that dark humor, it just helps because it's also part of the acceptance. Like, what am I going to do? Sit here and fucking cry that my dad would have been, I don't know, probably 60. I'm not going to math it real quick, but like whatever he would have been. It's like, well, this is my reality. And like my sisters and I are really good with dark humor together. And we almost do it sometimes intentionally because we know people get fucking so awkward.
Yeah.
And we're like, haha, whatever. Like we just make these jokes and it's okay. So if you're around someone who's lost someone and they've got like serious dark humor, trust me, embrace it. It's funny. It's a coping mechanism at times. And also they just like to joke about it because that's their life. That's their reality. It's fine. We're not like, you don't need to walk on eggshells if you want to talk about, like, for example, your dad or something around me or around anyone. Like, it's just, it doesn't mean your life needs to change. And I remember that actually happening with one of my friends. She would tell me, she'd be like, oh, you know, I don't know if I want to talk about my dad stuff with you. And that was more at the start. And now I'm like, well, I know for a fact that people have different relationships and it doesn't mean that you can't talk to me. You know, like you can absolutely talk to me. And I think that it does tie back into the whole people have different experiences and stuff. Like as the griever, as the person who's not grieving, it's okay. Like you're all on this weird, wild journey together and you guys will figure it out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, I think that was beautiful.
Yeah.
I want to say if anyone is going through it at the moment, whatever that looks like, again, we do always like to say our DMs are always open and sending you lots and lots of love because it is not easy. And with that, if you have any questions, specific, whatever it is, we are here. But we'd love to hear your thoughts, your feedback, all the things on this episode. A little bit different. And yeah, with that, we'll be in your ears again next week. Bye.